I'm back after a break because I had a request. I had a request about a video for making yogurt. And gosh, I said, oh, that's so easy. Does it really need a video? But I thought I'd do it anyway. And as a bonus, we're gonna do an experiment. So we're gonna make yogurt 2 different ways. And then we're also going to try and make sour cream. I don't know about you, but I love sour cream and I'll put it on anything. So, yogurt. Yogurt is a way to make milk last longer. And I think that's why people around the world make it. And they say that it was discovered accidentally by people keeping milk in old, you didn't have Tupperware back then. So you would carry things that would hold water, like old sheep stomachs and things like that. And there were some things in sheep stomachs that turns milk into cheese or yogurt and things. It's actually a bacteria. Now, usually when we think of bacteria, oh no, we gotta wash our hands, get rid of the bacteria, get rid of the germs. But there are really good bacteria. There's good bacteria in cheese, there's good bacteria in sauerkraut, there's good bacteria in pickles, and there's good bacteria in yogurt. Now, the main thing about yogurt is you need to make sure you keep the good bacteria and not the bad bacteria. So the way you do that is by keeping things really clean. So I just washed these things in hot soapy water, and these are going to be our yogurt. And this is where we're going to make the sour cream. Now the experiment is, one method, we're going to heat the milk up really hot, kill all the bad bacteria, and then cool it down so that when we add our good bacteria, it's not going to die because it's too hot, and it's all going to be all good stuff, not the bad stuff. The second way is we're not going to fuss. We're not going to fuss with heating it up. We're just going to rely that this milk has no bad bacteria in it. And we're just going to add the starter and see what happens. So one way, we're going to do it by the book and heat it up. And the other way, we're just going to do milk and yogurt and not worry about it. Where are we going to get the good bacteria? Good question. We're not going to take it off our hands. We're not going to take it, you can't buy it at the grocery store. Well, you can buy it at the grocery store because the good bacteria is living in yogurt that you buy in your grocery store. So kind of like a sourdough starter where you borrow some of the old stuff and add new stuff to it. You're going to take some of the old yogurt and add it to the new milk. And then that good bacteria is going to grow in the milk. Here we go. We're going to make a quart, and we're going to make a quart of milk, heat it up really high, let it cool, and then add our yogurt starter. They call it starter because it starts everything happening. We're going to take another quart of milk and just add starter, not worry about the hot stuff, okay? And then, and this is the boring part, we're going to let it sit. We're going to let it sit for at least 6 hours. 6 hours. And it needs to sit in a nice, warm, but not hot place. My oven happens to have a setting that's called proofing, and that's where you let your dough rise nice and warm. If you don't have a nice warm place, if you don't have a proofing setting on your stove, you could take a heating pad, put a couple towels over it, and then put your yogurt on top. You could put it in your crock pot, set the crock pot on warm, and probably put a dish towel under it so that the bottom's not directly on the bottom of the crock pot. Or you could get creative and think of some place that's about 100 degrees, because it's going to need 100 degrees for at least 6 hours. Let's get started. I'm going to take my milk. This is 2% milk. but you can use skim milk, you can put non-fat milk, you can use whole milk, you can use any kind of milk you like. And that's going to go in my saucepan. That's going to go on my stove. I've got my little swisher to make sure it doesn't scorch on the bottom. And I've got a candy thermometer. The candy thermometer will measure up to 400 degrees, but we don't need 400 degrees. We need about 170, 175, 180. So that's not even boiling, but it's a good solid scald, if you know what scald is. Scald means that there's like bubbles around the edge, and it looks hot. It might be a skim forming on the top. And then we're gonna turn it off and let it sit till the temperature comes down to about 105, 110 degrees. Okay, so that is this batch. Okay, I'm gonna go put it on the stove. This batch, we're not gonna heat it up. We're just gonna pour the milk in and add some yogurt starter. This is Greek yogurt, but you can use regular yogurt. Greek yogurt is just regular yogurt with some of the extra liquid removed. That liquid is called whey, and don't throw it out. You can add it to soup, you can add it to bread, you can drink it, you know. So I'm going to put about 3 tablespoons. 1, 2, 3 tablespoons. And I'm going to gently stir. There's bacteria all through there, and that's what makes our yogurt nice and thick. You can see it's still kind of clumpy. So I'm just sort of gently agitating it until I see that those lumps are pretty small and well distributed. We better mark this one some way, because this is our experiment. Can we make yogurt without all the falderall and fuss of heating up the milk? Let me go get a marker. All right, I'm going to put a lid on it. Now once you do start the culturing process in the oven, you don't want to disturb it at all. So make sure nobody needs to use that oven if you're using your proofing drawer, because they're not going to be able to turn on the oven or move your stuff for at least 6 hours. Okay, so nobody's cooking today. This one is ready to go straight into the oven. So I'm going to turn on my oven. So I'm going to put this in the oven, and I'm going to come and show you how to do the sour cream. I better go stir that milk. Makes a kind of cool sound, doesn't it? Now the yogurt is so easy, and I love sour cream, so I said, why? Does it work just like that for sour cream? I'll take a little bit of old sour cream and add it to cream, and unfortunately it doesn't. I don't know why, but the workaround is that you take your cream. Now this is half and half, so this would be equivalent to light sour cream, and we're going to just pour it in there. There's going to be no fuss sour cream. The workaround is to use buttermilk as your starter. So the buttermilk has bacteria in it, and that's the culture. When you see it says cultured buttermilk or cultured yogurt, that means it has those live active bacteria that are going to turn your milk into yogurt or to sour cream or to buttermilk. But here we're going to turn it into sour cream, and we're going to take, just like we did before, we're just going to take some of this. I'm going to add maybe 3 of these. Buttermilk is great in cakes and in biscuits and stuff like that. And a lot of times I don't buy it because this is a lot and I don't use it that much. So I usually use a fake buttermilk when I'm cooking by adding a little vinegar to milk. And that sort of makes it nice and thick and curdling. Ta-da! Sour cream. That's going to go in the oven as well. And let me check on our milk. This is why I need my thermometer. So here's my milk that's been on the stove. I gotta pop the thermometer back in to show you how it creeps up. And you see all those bubbles around there? Some of the bubbles are because I've been stirring it, but some of those bubbles are telling me that it is hot. Okay, so there it is, 150, 160, 170, 172, 175. That's pretty good. And you can see around the edges how it's got those little bubbles all around. Okay, so that is that. And we let it cool. Okay. Ooh, I see the steam. Okay. And we're going to pour our hot steamy milk in here. And we'll use that same thermometer to tell us when it's ready. We're ready to add the yogurt starter. All right. So we'll need that as well. So I'll leave that right there. Now, I don't know if you've ever had sour milk. Not just like sour cream or buttermilk, but milk that has really gone bad. It's disgusting. So that's one of the reasons we go through this step here, is to make sure we get rid of all the bad bacteria. Now, most houses are clean enough that it's not a big deal. So what if some bad bacteria got into the one that I put in already, my no fuss yogurt? Well, I would be able to tell with the first bite that it had gone bad, okay? And then I just throw that away, and all I've lost is a quart of milk. So, just to be safe, this is the way to go. If you're impatient and in a hurry, you could get a bucket of ice and set this tub in there, and that will help cool things down quickly. If you're not patient, you can go have a cup of coffee or have a little snack, take the dog for a walk, then come back, check with your thermometer and see what it is. Okay, I'm just going to leave that in there so it'll be easy to see when we get down to between 100 and 110. But I'm going to take a break. You can too. Well, that was a nice little break for my milk to cool. I don't know what you did. I started a batch of bread dough and had a cup of coffee, and now I'm back and I'm looking at my thermometer, and it is the perfect temperature for adding the starter. We're creating an atmosphere. We're creating a place where that bacteria that we like, the good bacteria, is healthy and wants to grow and multiply, and that's what we're aiming for. Now, when I started my bread dough, I started thinking about the yeast. That's another living creature that we use in our cooking. But yeast is a different animal. Isn't it an animal? Well, people are still talking about that. Than yogurt. Than what's in the yogurt. Yogurt is bacteria, yeast is yeast, and they're different creatures, but they are all both living things, and they, just like all living things, they know what they like. They like to be warm, they like to be safe, they like to be quiet and calm. So if you're going to run around with your yogurt, it may not work, okay? It needs to have a quiet place to grow, and it needs that temperature to grow. So I'm going to add 3 of these. 1, just like I did to our no fuss. This one I marked by the book. So this one we followed all the instructions, just like the cookbooks tell us. The other one we tried to take a few shortcuts. Okay? So do you remember now what we do? We stir gently until we get rid of the big clumps. And they'll probably get smaller faster because the milk is so warm still. Yeah, Gosh, there's hardly any big lumps already. Well, that was easy. All right, this is going to have its lid, and it's going to go sit in the oven next to our no fuss experiment. Okay? And then we just set our timer for about 6 or 7 hours. If you let it go even longer overnight, you might get a tangier yogurt. So if you like mild yogurt, maybe 5 or 6 hours. If you like tangy yogurt, you could go 10 to 12 hours. But let's see what happens. It's going in the oven. I told you it was easy, right? Warm up the milk, add the yogurt, put it away in a nice, quiet, safe place. I'll meet you back here after our good bacteria has a chance to grow and turn our milk into yogurt. All right. See you in a bit. Okay, and we're back. That stuff's been sitting in the oven on the proofing drawer, about 100 degrees, for this many hours. Can you believe it? I've been very patient, waiting, and I'm going to bring the tray from the oven and we can check to see if it has turned into yogurt. And then I'll show you how to make regular yogurt into Greek yogurt. Okay? So here we go. Cross your fingers. Hope it worked. Okay, if you remember, we had 3 things going on. We had a yogurt which we called by the book, which means we followed all the instructions. We heated the milk up, we cooled it down, we added the starter from some other yogurt. Then we have our no fuss yogurt, which came straight from the refrigerator, added the starter, put it in the oven. And then we had our sour cream, which I can tell right now did not get thick. So you know what? I'm just going to put that right back into the oven.
Here's our by the book yogurt.
Whew. And I don't know if you can see, but there's a layer of liquid on the top. That's the whey. And then you can see here the milk is all solid. So it worked. But I'm looking at our no fuss yogurt and I can tell that it's thick, but it is not yogurt. So you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to turn that proofing drawer back on, and I'm going to let my no fuss yogurt and my sour cream sit for even longer, because you remember it went in cold. So as part of that time that this one was turning into yogurt was warming up these 2 guys. So this one I'm going to set aside, and these 2, hopefully I haven't jiggled it too much. I'm going to put it right back in the oven. And with this one, which is by the book, I'm going to show you how to make Greek yogurt. Greek yogurt is just regular yogurt with some of the liquid removed. So we have to figure out a way to get rid of that extra liquid. And one of the ways to do that is to take a coffee filter and put the yogurt into the filter and just let some of that extra liquid drip, drip, drip away. So let me go find my coffee thing and my filter holder and a place for that extra liquid to go. I'll be right back. All right. So I'm going to put my coffee filter in here, like this. And then I'm going to, first I have to pour that extra liquid on the top. But I'm going to show you how thick this yogurt got. Look at that. Looks kind of like pudding, doesn't it? Or flan, that's what it looks like. So I'm just going to scoop this in, keeping it as, not stirring it around, keeping it in these big chunks, and fill up my filter. You're very quiet. You can hear the liquid dripping down. they said before, don't throw away that stuff. It's called whey. And it has lots of nutrients in it. Back in the old days, if you couldn't think of anything to do with it, you would feed it to the pigs, and the pigs would love it. So, I'll just remind you, when you do an experiment like we did with our no-fuss yogurt, sometimes an experiment works, and sometimes it doesn't. So we're going to give that, we're going to give our no-fuss yogurt and our sour cream batch a little longer to sit and see if it's just a little slower, or if it really doesn't work to do that. Okay, drip, 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 drip. I can see I've got this much liquid. I don't want to wait too long because otherwise my yogurt gets a consistency more like cheese rather than yogurt. So we'll give it maybe 10, 15 minutes, and then we'll put the rest of it in a fresh filter. And this will scoop into a fresh yogurt tub. All right, meet me back here in 15. All right, so this has been sitting for about 10, 15 minutes. And you can still see it's still making a mess, dripping. But I want to, like I said, I don't want it to go too long. Otherwise it turns into cheese instead of Greek yogurt. So I'm going to take that one and put a new filter. Oh, my cat's going to come help. Put a new filter in for the rest of the yogurt. And now we're going to wait for another 10-15 minutes for this one to drain. Clean up some of my drips and mess here while that is draining. Now, remember I started out with this much milk, a quart of milk, because some of that was liquid that separated and is down here. If we're making regular yogurt, we still have a quart. But if we're making Greek yogurt, that liquid has taken away from the amount of yogurt we made, and we'll probably only have like 2/3 of a tub of yogurt. So it's been another 10 minutes, and I don't know if you can see, but this is the amount of whey that we've extracted from our regular yogurt. Just wanted to show you what the whey looks like. This is the liquid that came off of the yogurt. It's kind of thick and yellowish, so you can tell it's got some good stuff in there. Not milk, but parts of the milk. So we have nice, thick, tangy Greek yogurt here. So that's really the only difference between regular yogurt and Greek yogurt. I'm going to put this in the fridge, and this is all done. The other experiment, which didn't work out so nice, is in the oven at 100 degrees, just sitting, waiting for that good bacteria to grow. And I'll probably check it before bedtime. It might be ready then. If it's not ready then, I'll let it go all overnight. If it's not ready then, it's probably not going to happen. And we would say, this experiment didn't work. My by-the-book yogurt was a success. Now I'm going to save this and put it in soup or a next loaf of bread, or if I'm making biscuits or cornbread, I can use this as the liquid. Okay, we don't waste anything around here if we can help it. All right, tune in later to see if the other experiment worked once it was given more time. Okay, well, remember I said sometimes experiments work and sometimes experiments don't. So my yogurt, my no-fuss yogurt, was very thin last night, even after 8 hours. So I said, you know what, I'm just going to let it sit overnight. And that's what I did. And the sour cream experiment was also very thin and liquid. At least the yogurt, the No Fuss yogurt, was a tiny bit thick. Well, so I let everything sit overnight. And take a look at what happened to my sour cream experiment. I think I just made cheese. Some kind of cheese. And my yogurt, my No Fuss yogurt, is kind of like yogurt, but it's really thin. It's separated a little. Look, see? So maybe if I let that whey drain out of that, I'll have regular yogurt. I don't think I will have, I don't think I'll have Greek yogurt. I'm going to taste it and see what it tastes like. Tastes like yogurt. But this stuff is really interesting looking. Now this was half and half mixed with buttermilk. And take a look at that. Let's put that in there because I could see all the whey is at the bottom. And gently put that in the filter. I'm going to taste this too. That's kind of interesting. Not sour cream. So, I guess the moral of the story is you should follow the recipe. When you make yogurt, you should heat your milk up to about 170, 180 degrees. Then you should let it cool down to between 100 and 110 degrees. Then add your starter, which is just some yogurt that you've had before. Set it aside for 5, 6, 7, 8 hours. Longer if you like it tart. And you'll have some yogurt. If you like regular yogurt, you're all set. If you like Greek yogurt, you'll put it in a coffee filter and let it drain. And that is how to make yogurt and how not to make yogurt. Hope you have better luck than me with your experiments.
Hi. I just had to add a little bit of addendum to the end of our yogurt video. That No Fuss yogurt I was really skeptical about, but I had it for breakfast this morning. It was really interesting because the texture was kind of almost slimy or something like that, stretchy or something. Anyway, I had it mixed with blueberries and a little dollop of blueberry jam, and it was delicious. There was something special about it that tasted better than my regular yogurt. So, it took close to 24 hours to culture that batch of yogurt, that No Fuss yogurt, but maybe it was worth it. I also had that sour cream that turned kind of cheesy. I put that on my chili last night, and gosh, that was delicious too. So, I don't think my experiment was such a failure. I think it was a success. The only thing is how to duplicate it. That I'm not sure. Anyway, whatever you make, I'm sure it will be interesting. Bye-bye.